Hello everyone and welcome along to a brand new episode of the Supercup show here on SimNews.TV, where we take a look at the goings on of the GPVWC Supercup and we talk about the race that has just gone by. The movers, the shakers, the impressors, the people who have not had a good day at the office, we've got it all here. I'm Josh Anderson, here as ever to take you through what went on when Supercup met Germany, and well, a bit of a change in the panel this week. We don't have a Sam Jones unfortunately, but we do have someone who was here with me for the very first episode of the Supercup show. It's Mike Pitman.
Hi Josh, thanks for having me back.
Pleasure to have you back, of course. Mike Pitman himself, the scrutineer from his own SimNews.TV show about Super League, but this is about Supercup, the series that, well, feeds into Super League. So, where better to start in Germany than a very efficient German qualifying session? And, well, Alex Siebel will be very happy about that. He got pole for Multiforce GP, 135.474. Not exactly surprised with the form he's shown this season, Mike, is it?
No, your expected moving shakers are sort of at the top there as well. But Siebel has been doing particularly well this year. He'll be happy to get the pole at the German Grand Prix as well, his home race. And it's just great for Multiforce, and it was cracking lap actually. To even have a 10th ahead of some of the guys that are behind him, some of the names are very big as well. So for him, it's a great little coup really to start on the first row of the grid is what everyone wants to be doing.
It is, and that's what Stefan Ruhl got, the Dutchman qualifying second for Deltec, and that would really help him because he's been around the sort of top 5, top 6 area of the grid most of the season, so to get a second on the start was really always going to help him. And Dino Paolini, while Siebel's fellow compatriot, starts directly behind him in third place, Boy Milan fourth for TG Racing. So, the same sort of guys up the top 4, top 5, top 6 that you expect.
Yes, Stefan was a bit higher than potentially we'd expect. He's about seventh in the standing, sorry. So to be getting up there, he's sort of punching a little bit above his standing at the moment, but that's where he wants to be. So he's moved. It's all very close actually at the top of that end of the fine end of the field. But yeah, everyone else you'd expect Paolini to be there. Milan, Hoekstra. These guys are seasoned veterans, I suppose, of Supercup now almost.
Yeah, Hoekstra qualifying 5th, of course, for Meserick Racing, and Douwe Tapper the first of the Zederick cars in 6th place, so a double Dutch roll 3. Then Bruno Marquez for Deltec Racing Team. Interesting stand in there. I've not seen Bruno around for a while, so great to see him back. And 7th, very impressive.
Oh, well, we'll come on to it, but Bruno really impressed me throughout the whole weekend, actually. The whole race event, sorry. And Deltec really did need those results as well. It's to have a stand-in is never easy. I don't know how much prep he had, but I suppose if you're going to do a stand-in after a 4-week break, it's probably the time to do it, where you've probably got the most chance of finding out the track and the setup and getting yourself sorted. But that was a really good result in qualifying for him there to be that far up the grid and at the sharp end.
Yeah, Bruno proving himself to be a bit of a super sub for Deltec in qualifying. At least Chris Shepard, though, for Epic Racing in 8th place and back at the team which he started as a reserve. He's done races for Hinz Motorsport, but then comes back to Epic for this race. Obviously, familiar surroundings for Chris helped him to an 8th place there. Then Edward Patala, the first of the two brothers Patala, in 9th for RTS. Then Tom van der Voort in 10th for Drake Racing, which I think is the season best qualifying for the Dutchman.
He's gradually getting there now. We obviously know Tom's talent from previous years. I knew him quite well from doing the Super League previous years, but doing it in R Factor 2 now, he's starting to move forward. And as we'll come on to, has again shown. I think there's a lot more to come from Tom. He's shown definite glimpses of it, and 10th by no means is as high as he will see him this season.
It is really about acclimatization, and now you think Van der Voort's acclimatizing it. He's getting used to R Factor 2. Will we see flashes of his Super League form come back?
Well, if we do, then everyone else needs to worry, because that was some serious talent back there. I think it was an ongoing theme that he was sort of like always 5th, I think was his motto at one point in Super League. But I think he'd be very happy if he can get anywhere near the top 5 at the moment in Super Cup. But he does look like he's enjoying his racing again, which is the main thing there.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about, enjoyment, enjoying yourself, because that's where the motivation comes from. And while Jason Muscat won't have enjoyed this qualifying session, all the way down in 11th place. And for someone who led the Drivers' Championship in the first half of the season, he's been on a bit of a slow decline in terms of pace, Jason, and now starting 11th.
Yeah, it's to be out qualified by his teammate as well is a rarity at the moment, but I think that's Gary doing a very good job. Jason, considering he was leading the standings for quite a considerable while at the start of the season and he's still in the hunt, But yeah, that's not a great place to start. Mid-pack, you're in the danger zone for incidents and issues like that, and it's a big gap as well. 1.1 seconds to the leader there. That's not just a bad lap. That's unfortunately lost some pace somewhere, or some time maybe. It's the summer. It is hot where he is. I know he does struggle with things like that. So there is other factors that play into it. But I think I can see he's got the talent. He'll definitely jump back into some top sporting results soon.
Yeah, I hope he will, because he is a fantastic driver, Jason Muscat. Dennis Jordan in 12th for Evolution Motorsport qualified, so again, maybe further down than he might like. Then Rob Mason, who, well, we talk about people who are further down than they would like. Rob Mason should be very happy with 13th. He's proven himself this season, I think, to be a really capable driver in these Supercup cars. You know, he came in a couple of years back, and he's thrived since then, and he's really come to Supercup now, and he's proven himself as someone who can hack it in the midfield.
Yeah, he's actually surprised me this season. I don't mean that in any disrespect. I think even he would admit that last year he was probably seen more as just a solid runner. He would get to the end, but he's moving forwards. I mean, to outqualify people like Jokowski and Choda there is pretty good going. They're not slow.
Yeah, Jajovski 14th and Choda 15th, both proven themselves to be good drivers before. And then Ryan Nash 16th in the Cosmos Psyche car. Of course, they've just had a bit of a do with the whole identity change, which are applying for 2018, but of course, still old Cosmos Motorsport for 2017 at least. And Nash, he's not the most experienced Super League driver, or Super Cup driver, or open wheel driver in GPVWC in general, so 16th is okay.
Yeah, it's getting him there eventually. I think there's a lot more to come from all these guys as you learn the mod. It is quite an easy car to drive. I suppose people like it, but it feels easy to drive. But actually, when you actually get it really quick is quite difficult. But yeah, starting all the way down there isn't ideal, I suppose. But as we'll come on to, wasn't end of the world, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, qualifying 16th on your debut, I believe, in Supercup, or one of your debut races, is always promising because it's near the point. So you've got that temptation. You think, hang on, if things go wrong for like 2-3 guys ahead of me in the race, I've got 2 points in the bag here, maybe.
Well, of course, yeah. I mean, get to the finish in these sort of races, and who knows what can happen. To score points, you've got to finish, and that's got to be the ultimate rule. Particularly if you're qualifying the lower end there. Yeah, you'd always be. I think everyone always has eyes on points. I think even if you qualify last, you're after points, aren't you?
Yeah, even if you qualify last, you want to get to the points, I guess. And, well, that'll be the intention of Gerard Batal, of course, coming back for Racing Team Shorten after missing, I believe, Hungary. Then Edgar Ruiz 18th in TG Racing's car. Then Mark Fuller 19th and Jack Mayer for Hins Motorsport rounding out the grade. 5.6 seconds down. 5.6 seconds down, but still okay running, Jack Mayer. You know, he's come back, and he's not exactly on the pace, but Hins are getting 2 cars to the event.
Yeah, and as a team, that is pretty much where you need to be at the moment. If you've got 2 cars on the grid, not all teams are doing that, then you know better than most, then it's very difficult to score high points. If you get 2 cars there, you got double the chance of scoring if everything goes wrong. And yeah, 5 seconds off, unfortunately, that is a bit of a bad lap. But I'm sure that will improve if he keeps going, if he secured that seat going forwards.
Yeah, if he secured that seat going forwards, I'm sure Mayer could be a very, good potential driver. He has got talent in him, so with a bit more practice, a bit more time, if you've got a permanent driver hint, he could really prove himself. So, on to the race then, and it was the first race, of course, that was the feature race, 34 laps around the Nürburgring, and, well, Boya Milan was the one who came out on top. A great result for the Spaniard, winning for TG Racing. And that, of course, Milan's first race win of the season. We've talked in previous episodes, Mike, about how Boya has almost won, but not quite. Now he's finally broken his duck at Germany.
Yeah, and to be honest, it was a strategy call that won him it. Considering he was there or thereabouts with the pace, this could have gone anywhere. There was like 7 guys. I mean, in both races, we've had like 7 guys all battling for the lead within 2-3 seconds of each other for the majority of the race, or at least half the race. But Milan and Siebel in this race to do 1 stop less than sort of everyone else around them. They did a very long stint on one type because you have to use both compounds. So what we found the other guys, like Paolini, Marquez, Hoekstra, that sort of thing, they all did 2 stops, and ultimately that cost them. You can't afford that time drop here, even if you're on the quicker tyres. Milan made it work, and arguably Siebel would have done as well. To be honest, it's such a close finish anyway. But I'm sure we'll get onto that. But for Milan, it's his first win for GPVWC ever. So in single seaters, so fantastic to see that form's coming across. I think he's been knocking on the door a little bit for a while now. So that's great to see.
Yeah, of course, his first win in Supercup this season, of course, in the career ladder, of course, he had the Atlantic Series title, so there's that going for him in open wheelers, but within the career ladder, at least, this is his first, so great to finally break that up, because IndyCar's a completely different machinery, and super close finish at the end, just 3/10 in it at the end between Milan and Paolini, and a further 5 to Alex Siebel, who finished in third, so, Milan, Paolini, Siebel, within a second of each other at the end, that's how close it can be in Supercup sometimes. Then we come to the Deltex, 4th and 5th, Marquez beating Rualt by a solid 5 seconds. What a way to make your debut.
Well, again, to be honest, though, that it was great by Marquez, but it was his mess up. He ended up doing 3 stops because he did the same sort of strategy as Paolini and such, doing 2 stops to change. So he did 2 stops on the softer compound and he had to then run the hards. No one wanted to run the hards, seemingly, and they all pitted with about 5 laps to go or less. Raul went in to pit for his hard tyres and didn't pit for hard tyres. He came back out on softs. So he had to do a lap and then pit again. So he did a whole extra pit stop for absolutely no reason. So he really would have been right up there again and scoring potentially as high as 2nd or 3rd. But just a silly mistake ultimately there. They were kind of lucky that Marquez was there as the teammate to pick that up and pick up the points, I suppose, rather than somebody else. But yeah, it just showed the strategy calls here on the long feature race here really can cost these guys, even if they're very, very similar on pace.
Yeah, very similar on pace they were, and Edgar Reith wasn't far behind, and he was a massive climber this race. 14 places gained from pretty much last to 6th. That is going to take some beating, and it's a really, really impressive result from Reith, as was Chris Shepard's and Dennis Jordan's climb. Both 11 places, Shepard up from 18th and Jordan from 19th. We talk about high climbers, you don't get much higher than 11 and 14.
No, they really capitalised. There was a couple of incidents throughout the race that I'll probably go on to, but they sort of really capitalised on those, and they did have the pace. Arguably, Reese was really out of place for his qualifying pace, considering his results this year. He was way out of position to where he should have been, and he had the pace in the race to really push. To actually end up only 30 seconds off the lead and having done the 2-stop strategy is impressive, whereas Shepard and Jordan did the 1 stop, so they gained a lot of time in that as well and stayed out of trouble. So they all should be very happy. To climb that high from the back is difficult in any series, but particularly in this series where it's all equal and everybody's so close as well on talent levels. To do that is impressive work, and it's great for the teams to get those points.
Yeah, it is really impressive stuff to get those points, and 7 points would go to Wupke Hoekstra in the Measurate car, and then Jason Muscat 10th, and as Edric, these guys are top title contenders, but didn't have a good race. Hoekstra fell 4 places, and Muscat won.
Well, Hoekstra, that's unfortunate. To be honest, Hoekstra he was battling with Paolini, he was leading the Grand Prix, and then comes across a flying Mark Fuller while lapping him, and that costs him the race completely, really. He has to pit, come back out. It would have been 2 pit stops anyway, because he was doing the same strategy as his teammate, but he ended up pitting about 5 laps earlier, and he had to wait for the damage to be fixed. He lost his front wing, and that really, really cost him. Arguably, again, he should be a good 30-odd seconds up the road. Probably wouldn't. Paolini seemed to have probably the measure of him. That might be unfair, but only just. They were so close. You can't tell actually what's team orders and what wasn't. I'm not, just from watching, it'd be quite interesting actually to have spoken to them and found out. But they said there was no team orders, but they seemed to. Otherwise, they were on very similar strategies, and they really should have had probably a top 2, both cars in the top 4 at least there. But Jason Muscat, quite a quiet race. I mean, say a quiet race. He was still involved in the incident on lap 1. In fact, both the Zedricks were again. I think that's 2 races in a row they've done that now, and that's just unfortunate. To climb back to 10th actually is quite impressive for him, but at the same time, he won't be happy with that, I'm sure.
Yeah, probably not going to be too happy with that. And obviously, Muscat, 10th place. Politek climbed up 10 places. Tobias Politek didn't even qualify. Started 21st. Then comes up to 10 places to 11th. We've talked about Politek. When he's on it, he really is on it.
Yeah, I was watching that, and I remember getting about 3 laps in, and just suddenly he was in about 10th. I was like, where's that come from? Like, I don't know how he did it. I don't know if he cut half the track or what, but it was brilliant. Must have been an incredible first few laps, and then he had the pace to stay there. And other than say Hulkstra coming back through and people like that obviously had the pace differential. Other than that, he was right there with everyone. It's obviously not. It's a shame, really. He didn't qualify to actually see how far up he could have got. But it's still a good result for both Evolution to score points, both of them, considering both where they qualified or not qualified in this case. They'd have been particularly happy with race 1 finishing positions.
Yeah, particularly happy with that. And I guess Sandy Petroda will be happy with 12th. He started there, he ended the race there. Then Gerard Battala, 13th in the RTS car, gaining a place from 14th to 13th. Rob Mason, though, dropped 4 to go down to 14th. And, well, Gerard Battala, it's not often we see him get the better of his brother. Usually Edouard is ahead, but they are very similar on pace.
Battala did have... he ended up taking an extra stop because he ended up... I think it was... I'm sure it was damage he ended up taking, but they also pitted on the same lap together, which I thought was fun, and it meant one of them had to stack, which was a very odd decision, but there you go. So I don't know, it wasn't quite right, the strategy there between the guys. I don't know whether the brotherly communication got lost somewhere, but otherwise it was, it wasn't. I mean, he won't be happy where he is, but he's still in the points.
Yeah, of course, Mason just behind him, 14th. A bit of a quiet race from him from 10th. And Edouard Battala, of course, 15th, as we just mentioned, dropping 8 places. Edouard's usually up there in the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, but then if you're on a bad day and you still finish and get a point, that shows actually you're doing all right if you're a bad day. But yeah, you won't have been happy with that.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been very happy with that, I guess. 15th place, it is a point, but it's only 1 point, and for someone further up, you would have expected better. And, another disappointment perhaps for Dawe Tapa. Started 17th, ended 16th, maybe just not his race in that Zedric car. We know he's capable of great things in Supercup, Dewey Dawe, but maybe just not finding his feet to Germany in race 1 at least. Then Jack Mayer, 17th for Hinds Motorsports, and, 17th considering where he started and how far back he qualified wasn't bad for Jack Mayer.
Well, no. I was going to say, just on Dowie there, before we got onto that, yeah, he did start low, but remember he qualified laps. He was 6th in the timesheets. He ended up with his penalties and such, but, and he ended up in that first lap incident, which I think is what cost him there. Same, I think Mayer was also in that, unfortunately. So there's a few guys down here at the back that had those incidents, and Vandervoort that we'll come on to. But yeah, Mayer, he's in the Hinds. He's, considering when we were saying in qualifying, he was 5 seconds off the leader. To bring it home still is great, and not to be last. Ultimately, qualify last to not finish last is a good thing, isn't it?
It sets him up okay for race 2, I guess. He's 17th. He knows he isn't necessarily going to be last if he gets it at the end. And Mark Fuller, 18th place for ST Racing, just further down the order. Then Ryan Nash in the Cosmo car, 19th place. He got to the end and he was last in the finishers because the 2 DNFs this race, Tom Vandervoort and Erhan Jajovski. So, only 2 finishes is actually quite good going. But, Vandervoort, Jajovski, not going to be happy they didn't finish.
Well, no, of course not. But they, and Jajovski didn't even decide to turn up for race 2, so I think he wasn't particularly happy with it. But Vandervoort came back and came back strong. But yeah, they're not going to be happy with those finishes. Particularly, Vandervoort, he got to lap 29. I mean, there was only 5 to go. That's not, that's so disappointing when that sort of thing happens. And he was doing quite well at the time, must be said. So, ultimately, there's, like we were saying before, there's an awful lot more to come from Vandervoort.
Yeah, a lot more to come from Tom and Erhan as well. He's not really shown his true potential in Supercup, he feels, so far. I mean, he comes from an endurance racing background. You'd think he'd be able to slot right into these open wheelers, but it just doesn't seem to be that easy.
No, he's definitely got the talent in the endurance sector, but that's, again, it's a very different beast, I suppose. He has been very unlucky to get involved in incidents and bits, but that's, I was going to say, but you don't have quite the same racecraft as you do in endurance necessarily. It's not quite the same, and these are very unforgiving. You can't really touch very much in these at all. I know people argue you can't really touch in endurance either, but nonetheless, with these you really can't. And I think if we really see him on a race, he could be really right up the top end. I don't know whether that's just me dreaming that he will be, but I really think he could be.
No, I think he could. I think he could be up the top end if he can just get it together, Macedonia. I think there is definitely talent to be had there. And, well, race 2 we wouldn't show up to, of course, but the person who really showed up there was Alex Siebel, taking yet another imperious win, 2.3 seconds ahead of Stefan Ruolt. So a good weekend at the office for Stefan, at least. You know, he got a 5th place, then he got a 2nd.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go, but Deltec in general actually get a great haul of points, I suppose, from this weekend. Yeah, they benefited quite well. To come back through the field, it was an eight grid reverse grid, which did very much annoy Hulkster, I think. But nonetheless, everyone, I think it always does. Whoever the person is one after the number that's called is always annoyed. But yeah, throughout, bring himself back up through, and he did quite quickly as well. Him and Siebel sort of dragged themselves through the field together, and yeah, it was touch and go whether they were going to catch Shepherd, and if Shepherd was going to hang on, he had the reverse pole. But I think ultimately the pressure and the pace showed out really.
Yeah, Ruolt's pace really did show, as did Siebel's, and Whoopke Hoekstra as well. 3rd place, so another good result for him, really solidifying himself as a solid driver in that measured car. Then we come to Bruno Marquez, 4th place in race 2, to go with the 4th place he got in race 1. You can't say it's not consistency, can you?
Well, no, that's fantastic for him, really. This is only his second event at GPVWC. He did a Formula Challenge end of last year for Deltec as well. So he's obviously a good team player there. So I'm hoping he'll come back and do a few more, because he's definitely got that speed and talent, as shown here, and potentially a bit more time in the car. To only be at the end of the race 5 seconds off of Stefan is impressive work, really.
Yeah, only, a couple of seconds off Ruolt, is very impressive stuff indeed. And I'm sure we'll be seeing more of Bruno in Supercup if that's performance is anything to go by. We piqued the interest of a couple of team managers, perhaps. And, Dennis Jordan, perhaps his interest was piqued. 5th place, started from pole, finished behind Marquez. And, Dino Paolini would follow in 6th. And Tom van der Voort, 7th place behind, 13 places climbed. Impressive stuff indeed.
Oh, that was really a drive. I mean, a few people fell off, but generally that was, he had some great overtakes going on, pressuring all the time. Him and Choda had a very good battle, particularly, and probably a few others that I probably missed at the time, because we were watching like the top 6 within, again, a couple of seconds of each other. I think it went up to the top 8 at one stage, actually, but then Van der Voort got right onto the back of that at one point, considering he was at the back of the grid. To be up there with the lead drivers, he was 12 seconds off the lead at the end of the race, but I think he was within about 8 at one stage. So to actually get to that point is a great result for him. I can't imagine how disappointing it would have been after race 1 to then come back and actually do a great race 2 and avoid all the carnage this time was fantastic to see. Sort of almost the Van der Voort of old. It was great.
Almost the Van der Voort of old indeed, just getting through it, getting that 7th place, getting towards the top 5, just doing what he needs to do. I'm sure Sandeep Choda's quite happy with 8th place as well. Another driver who's really finding his feet in R-Factor 2.
He's gradually getting there, doesn't he? I think he made some great strides in when he was in the end of the R-Factor 1 era. And coming back now, there's definite skill there. I think arguably he was sort of in the sort of second group of drivers almost. He was a couple of tenths off per lap, but it's still really, really close. He was there to pick up any pieces that anyone dropped off, and had some great battles with people as well that were coming through. So, yeah, it was great to watch.
Fantastic stuff to watch indeed. And Dawe Taba got the results that perhaps he deserves. Got a 9th place in race 2. And, right up there in the points again. This is the Dawe we know, isn't it, really? He's up there. He's fighting, getting the points and getting the results. And I'm sure he'll be quite happy with that 9th place. And then Edgar Reith behind in 10th for TJ, followed by Rob Mason. Another solid race from Rob in 11th place, followed by Edouard Batala in 12th for Racing Team Shorten. Both climbing 3 places there, so good solid results from both Mason and Batala.
Oh, well, yeah, coming up that way is great. Quite a few people had to do stops and a few DNFs. Edgar Reith could have been a bit higher, to be fair. He had a problem where he ended up dropping back down, but after quite a lofty grid position. Dowie had an incident as well at the start of the race again, and clawed back from that with a bit of a damaged car, so that could have been interesting to see what he managed to do. Mason had a few incidents along the way, but managed to pull himself up to a great position of 11th again, really. And then we get down to a few others, don't we, that sort of all action-packed. I think when you're getting down to this end of the field, no one comes away with a clean race. But it's always a bit of, do I make sure I get to the end as we were saying before, and you get some points out of it.
Yeah, some points is better than no points, and I'm sure Mason, with the amount of points he's been getting steadily over the season, is starting to establish himself as a good candidate for 2018 as well, as I'm sure, Edouard Battala is as well in that RTS car. Jason Muscat, another disappointing race though, just 13th for the Maltese, and you got to feel at this point his championship hopes are starting to slip away.
Oh, well, yeah, unfortunately, Muscat, again, that one incident, I think he lost a wing, he ended up in the pits with damage, so then having to claw his way back through, so to even score any points really after that, benefited by 4 guys not finishing, but still to get any points out of it. But yeah, I think he's probably starting to see his season slipping away a little bit now. He's not scored a podium now for quite a few races. I apologise. I think it was Canada was his last. Yeah, Canada was his last podium. We're talking 4 events will go now. That's a long way to not get a podium in this circumstance. He's dropped, as we'll get onto the standings in a minute, dropped quite far down from them.
Yeah, he has dropped down a fair bit in the standings. I guess the absence of Jeffrey Forney this round has helped him a bit, but, still dropping down the order. And Mark Fuller getting 2 points, and Jack Mayer, the single salty point for 15th place. Of course, Fuller finishing 14th for ST and Mayer 15th for Hinds. Then Gerard Battala, last of the finishers, 16th place for Racing Team Shorten, because we had 4 DNFs this race. And those were Chris Shepherd, Ryan Nash, Boya Milan, and Tobias Politek. Shepherd and Milan not finishing are big surprises.
Well, yeah, Shepherd really did quite a good job. He straight off the line got the. We were even saying it before that race happened. He has a great start quite regularly, and he did get himself up into the front place. Ran off into the distance almost for a little bit while everyone else battled away, but everyone slowly reeled him in. And I'm not sure whether it was just the pressure that got to him or what, but there was basically there was a one person will say that he turned in, one person will say he had the place. It was with Stefan, I think it was, to be honest, who was doing the overtake at the time into the first corner, and Shepherd. That was the first contact. I think sort of a little bit of wheel bashing. It wasn't too bad, but it seemed to take him off canter a little bit, and then playing himself into another car, which happened to be Milan. That wasn't not Milan. Sorry, Milan went out earlier. His teammate. But anyway, I can watch that. But anyway, somebody else that he went into as well, and that cost Shepherd this race completely. Unfortunately, and that's just what could have been. I think for Shepherd there was a race win was in his grasp. Potentially, definitely a podium was there. Arguably, Sebo and Rel were right on his tail by about the half distance. But still, he really had the pace to mix it with the big boys, and I think he'll be right back up there next time out.
Yeah, Shepherd perhaps, maybe the pressure did get to him a bit, but still unlucky to not finish. Ryan Nash, having finished the first race, didn't finish the second. Boya Milan obviously getting caught up in an incident as well, which took him out, and Tobias Politek too, also retiring. So all 4 drivers there, perhaps hoping that they had a slightly better race outing than they had. So what impact does this have on the Drivers' Championship standings? Well, Alex Siebel is now 25 points clear at the top of the table. He is on 284. Tadino Paolini's 256. Then third is Dennis Jordan on 235, followed by Whoopie Hoekstra on 231. Then Jeffrey Fournier, who wasn't around this round, fifth on 216 points. And that's the same amount of points as Jason Muscat, but more wins this season for Fournier, put him ahead on countback. Then it's Stefan Ruolt 7th on 206 points, followed by Boya Milan on 194. Then Tobias Politek 9th on 174. And Tully Haranovic follows, not present this round, but still 10th on 126. Then Dawe Tapa 11th place on 99, followed by Edgar Reith 95 points in 12th place. Ryan Kilk only has done 2 rounds this season, but still on 53 points in 13th. Then Edouard Battala 14th on 51, and Sandeep Choda on 49 points in 15th place, ahead of Matt Strand on countback again. So, you look at the Drivers' Championship, Siebel, he's still got a fair size lead, but it's not undoable.
Oh no, not at all. That's we've got 2 races each round, 25 points up for grab each time. He's got a 26 point gap. That's it's one race, one DNF, one accident on a reverse grid, that messes him up. That sort of thing can really cost you, or missing a round, something like that. We saw. And he does have bad rounds. I mean, Monaco, he had a DNF and then didn't turn up to race 2, and these things can really mess up your season. Arguably on his day, he's probably the quickest on the grid. It's just outright, he's got the most wins this year, and having missed the rounds and still being at the top of the standings is pretty impressive going. But as shown in these two races, he's not like he's running off in the distance here. This guy is beatable, and it's such a close contest all the way down to about 7th in the standings. Well, in fact, probably slightly more than that. I mean, anything that's realistically under about 60 or 70 points worth is catchable still, even at this point, if you get a good string of results together. As we saw, like Fournier jumped himself up into that high standings with those the Austria-Monaco results where he got 3 wins and a podium out of it. That sort of propels you right up into the upper echelons of the standings. And anyone from Siebel, Paolini, Jordan, Hoekstra, Fournier and Muscat and Raoult maybe really have the chance to still win this title.
You feel that Muscat, though, really needs to find something soon. Otherwise, the likes of, Raoult, Milan, Politek, even maybe Helanovic, they'll start to catch him, and that's going to put him out of title contention. And for someone who was leading in the early goings of the championship, 2 wins, a 2nd place, a 3rd place, in just the first 5 races, he's got to find something.
Yeah, I think the pace is still there. He's just been very unlucky about he's been in incidents in all of the last 3 events, but actually to win a title you need to try and be incident free as much as possible. You've got to be that consistent. We see that all the time, that if you're consistently, even if you're not winning all the races, if you're just consistently there or thereabouts in the podium top 4, you're up in the 2nd or 3rd or 4th in the standings anyway, and it's just that little bit extra where you might need a little bit of luck sometimes. And at the moment, Jason's luck isn't there. He will not be happy with 13th positions, 8th position, 10 positions. That's not title-winning contention. That's an also ran, So unfortunately, his season seems to be taking a dip, but there's still an awful long way to go, and it can be salvaged.
Yeah, still salvageable for Muscat, and hopefully we'll see him out in challenge towards the end of the season. And of course, in the teams' championships, Measuric Racing pretty much running away with it, as we say, 80 points ahead of Evolution. It's still a closable gap for Evolution, 489 points for Measuric to 409 for Evolution, but it is starting to, as the races go by, get a bit more important that they do close it down. Multiforce GP are 3rd on 336, followed by 4th place Zedek Racing on 315 points, then TG Racing on 290 points, followed by Epic Racing on 257. They're not far behind, just 8 points in it between them and Daltec, 249 points for the South African team, and then 104 to Drake Racing, so a bit of a chasm there. Racing Team Shorten a further 46 behind on 99 points in 9th place, so all of the 9s for the Dutch outfit. And then Tens Motorsport 10th on 84. Then Satellite Racing 11th on 75 points. Then Cosmo Psyche on 30 points in 12th place. And ST Racing rounding out the field on 20 points. So again, Mike, we look at these standings starting to pull away on Measuric Racing.
Yes, but it could have been a lot more, really, if they had the results that ultimately their pace and the first part of each race probably showed. But 80 points is still really catchable, particularly with, we saw there that Evolution had a DNF, so that doesn't help. But 80 points it's not that big a chasm yet. The title's by no means sewn up, but they are looking mighty good at this at the moment. If they keep up what they're doing at the moment, Paolini and Hoekstra, then their title might well be theirs. But they've got to keep it going. Got to keep this run of results. They've not had a DNF now in like four rounds, and that's a big key to keeping those points adding up every single time to both. And they've not even been outside the top 10, both cars. So that sort of element, even when they're finishing, so getting good points every time is the absolute key to a championship like this. Whereas someone like Multiforce, for example, got one car scoring really, really well every time, and that's about it. But they're still up there. If they can get somebody else in that scores regularly for them, maybe they'll also have a chance to jump into that challenge as well.
We went from the start of the season having big blocks of battles, and we've got like 4 or 5 smaller ones now. We got the main battles really between Multiforce and Zederic for 3rd and 4th. We've got the big battle between Epic and Daltec for 6th and 7th. We got the 9th and 10th place battle between RTS and Hins. We got Cosmo and ST fighting out at the back as well. We've now got 4 or 5 littler battles as well starting to form up.
Yeah, it does spread out a little bit. Like you say, you've got the guys that consistently scoring points, and then you've got the teams at the back who struggle to even field 2 drivers, and that's where you get the chasm really. Arguably, maybe it's a little bit unpopular potentially, but arguably the actual if your team's right down the bottom with missing races and that's why you're not scoring points, that's why it's a team's championship. That's the management element. That's the team itself. That's letting that score down. If you've got 2 drivers there every time and you're not quite as high up, but that's just like, I don't know, I'm thinking like a Racing Strokes and something like that, who are a good mid-pack team with 99 points, but they've always had drivers there. That's pretty good management. That just needs a bit more work with the guys and moving them up the field a bit, really.
I mean, it's these bottom 3 teams, really, Satellite, Cosmo and ST, that are struggling the most. You know, Satellite, really well-established outfit, has been ashamed to see them so far down the order this year. You know, as Cosmo as well, just promoted from Formula Challenge, maybe just finding it a bit hard in the debut season, but they are beating ST Racing, who is, you know, we keep saying, have been on a bit of a steady decline. So it's these 3 teams, really, and, well, not really looking good if they can't get the drivers.
Well, no, if you can't get the drivers, you can't score points. But yeah, Satellite's a surprise, really. I mean, they are bringing in drivers. They've had 5 this year and stuff, and Strand being the one that is scoring the points. But then it's his team. So it's going out there and bringing somebody else in and wanting to drive that car to pull them up. Because actually, when you're down in this sort of level, if you get a couple of cars scoring, you jump up quite heavily. There's nothing stopping any of those teams that we just mentioned even getting as high as 9th, 8th, potentially, by the end of the year, if they really got 2 drivers together, we're going for it. But that is much, much easier said than done.
A top 10, you think, for Cosmo would be perhaps the dream, perhaps, because, you know, that's where they've been getting in Formula Challenge, and to get it in Supercup kind of proves they can hack it at this level, though they have had the issues with drivers. So, you know, maybe if they can get 2 drivers together who are capable of running in the lower midfield or sort of that sort of point area, do you think they could be on for yet another 10th?
Well, they could do. It depends very much what Satellite will be thinking the exact same thing. So will Hins. But to be honest, ST will even be looking at Cosmo thinking we can have them. If they can get 2 drivers going as well. So it can go either way. It's going to very much depend on which cars line up on the grid next time out and the time after and such. You know, it's easy enough to get driver in for 1 race or maybe 2, but to get consistent points every race is what you need to be anywhere up in the top 10.
Yeah, that's what you need, really. And, well, I'm sure the drivers are going to need to prepare themselves for the very next race we got coming up, because it's none other than the legendary Belgian Grand Prix, the fantastic Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Always throws up great racing, doesn't this?
Oh, Spa. I think it's probably one of half the grid's favourite track on the calendar. It's going to be an impressive one. I haven't looked at the weather forecast. That can throw things up as well in Spain. But it's great fun to drive these cars around that track. It really is. And everyone will be starting to look. I think everyone looks at the calendar and thinks, right, I want to do well at certain tracks. And Spa is always one of those where you think this is one that's sort of key on the calendar, like this and Monaco and things like that. You go, I want to do really well there. And the British GP, maybe, if you're British, that sort of element are the ones that you look for.
Yeah, and of course, Spa, you never know when it's going to throw the rain up, do you? So there's always that as well. The weather never really predictable in Belgium. You know, we've had rainy races there before. I'm just looking at the weather forecast now. It doesn't look like it's going to rain on the race day, but that could all change come the actual date of the Grand Prix.
Oh, yes, we've still got a while yet before that. And, yeah, anything could happen in the meantime with the weather. Don't ask us to predict the weather. It's hard enough predicting a Supercup finishing result, let alone the weather.
Yeah, if there's one thing that's more difficult to predict, it is the Belgian weather. And, well, I'm sure you'll be there to watch that. Mike, obviously keeping an eye on the proceedings when that goes down next Wednesday. But until the Belgian Grand Prix in a week's time, I've been Josh Anderson for this episode of the Supercup Show. And I'd like to, of course, thank Mike Pitman for joining me alongside here at SimNews.TV for this episode. Hopefully Sam Jones will be back next time. But until next time, which will be in 2 weeks' time, we are going to be signing off. And next time around, well, it's going to be us talking about what just went on in Belgium. But until then, it's bye for now.